Okay, and we're back. Last week I went through these 10 Roblox games based around flying and aircraft and arranged them into this tier list here. Well, this week we're going to be going through these 10, finishing off our tier list. Once again, this list is based on my own personal opinions, but I'd love to see what you guys think about these games and my ordering in the comments. Starting where we left off last week, we begin with Wings of Glory. This is actually one of the most engaging games I've played in a little while. It's clearly loosely based off War Thunder, but even more arcadey. This game has a loyal fan base of skilled players. However, they're quite rare to come by in games, and after playing for about 40 minutes, I didn't have a single game where I didn't end up top of the leaderboard. It's got a reasonable selection of aircraft, from the expected nations from World War II, America, Japan, Germany, UK, etc. And you unlock different aircraft the more you play. The menus look very nice, although switching between lobbies between games feels pretty awkward. The aircraft feel really nice to fly, and the sound design makes getting hits and kills really satisfying. The progression is also done really nicely and is well paced, making it pretty engaging and encouraging players to climb the aircraft tier tree. However, the game isn't quite as fleshed out as it could be. I was expecting an upgrade tree but couldn't find one, and I only saw one map in my 40 minutes of playtime, leaving it in the B tier for now. I know some of you have been waiting on this one. Keyon Air, like Ely Airport in part 1, is another one of those airline games where you pay obnoxious amounts of Robux in order to get staff positions. However, after being patient with it, I came to find that Keyon Air isn't actually as bad as some people... No, it's really bad. The map looks like it was designed by a 6-year-old. The entire airport is full of ads for game passes and admin, and because it's just random people buying staff roles, they have absolutely no clue what they're doing. I joined about 10 servers trying to collect footage, and on the one that just happened to have a flight, it didn't go well. Naturally, you can't even fly unless you spend crap tons of Robux, and I wasn't going to do that. Stay well clear of this, another F tier. Next up, Liberty Flight Simulator. Now, Liberty Flight Simulator... Oh, it's the same bloody game. Everything I said about Keyon is the exact same here, another cash grab F tier. Onwards and upwards. Angels 15 is a modern aircraft combat game released a few years ago. Support for this game ended in 2016, although it's still playable, although I'm not sure for how long. The aircraft are a complete pain to control, but once you get the hang of them, they're still definitely usable. It's actually surprisingly fun to play, even if it isn't as fleshed out as more modern games. The biggest issues is that, 1, the servers are now completely empty, now that the player base has moved on. This meant that I had to bring in a bunch of people just to record this footage here. The second issue I found is that being so outdated, it means that it's now impossible to level up. This is because you need levels to get better aircraft, and it's because it's impossible to get levels, it's impossible to move off of the basic Typhoon, though you can still upgrade it. The missiles in this game are super satisfying to use, although the flares and secondary guns are pretty much useless. If you get at least one other friend though, however, it's still great fun. I'm going to put it into the C tier. On to another pre-release game, we have Perilous Skies II. This game is in its pre-alpha state, so once again, not a finished game, etc, etc. I'm just judging it as it stands now. Perilous Skies II is an extremely arcadey biplane dogfighting game. The art style is all cute looking, low poly models, and the map is nicely detailed. It is also the only combat game I've covered on here that has AI to play against, which, although not the smartest AI in gaming, it's brilliant in the fact that however empty the server is, and in this pre-alpha state it is usually pretty empty, you can still play the game and earn levels. There is a couple of game modes, all of which are good fun, however just the single map, although it is being regularly updated at the moment. The guns on the aircraft are quite hard to use, but when paired up with the large hitboxes, it feels nicely balanced. It's not free at the moment, costing about 35 Robux, but for that price you get a game that is set to improve a lot. All in all, a really cool game that is definitely worth checking out, earning a place in the B tier. The final combat game in this list is Hostile Skies, another dogfighting game set in World War II. This game is an absolute delight to play. The controls are a little like Marmite in the fact that you'll either love it or hate it. Most people I talk to love the feel of the aircraft, whilst others had completely given up because of it. There's a decent amount of features for an arcade dogfighting game, including flaps and landing gear. However, there are a couple of glitches, the main ones being that occasionally people go into an irrecoverable spin on spawn.
And my plane does this thing where every so often I'll just spawn and then it will be uncontrollable and I'll crash every time.
Great. And sometimes crashing with the flag leads it to being buried under the map, making it impossible to win as the team that's trying to capture it. Working to acquire and upgrade every aircraft on both the Allied and Axis teams gives a good couple of hours of playtime. There are 3 different maps to play on, with this one being by far the best, owing to the verticality to dodge and weave through. And a hangar that you can decorate, which is pretty fancy. All in all, Hostile Skies is a pretty solid game that is one of my personal all-time favourite games on Roblox. A tier. Another oldie, 2013 Flight Simulator, is another airline free flight game. And according to its name, it's one that's now 7 years old, and it's definitely showing its age. The map is incredibly bare, and there's only a couple of aircraft to choose from. All of them are really, really difficult to fly, even without the camera constantly colliding with the interior. One of the aircraft didn't even work at all for me. However, surprisingly, the landing gear is animated, which I guess is a bonus. I'm kind of struggling to find anything else to say about this game. It's old and it doesn't really work very well. I guess if you are with friends, you can have some fun trying to break it, but nothing really much else. E tier. Next up, Roblox Flight Simulator, and it's more of the same. At least it gives you one free no, you still need to pay for that. I'm just going to note straight out this one, sorry, but F tier. Now, this is a bit of an odd one. The game, titled simply Flight Simulator, with the plane emoji, is another Game Pass-filled mess. However, it is a little better than the previous. It has a huge procedurally generated map, based off of the real world, with different locations having different environments. This game actually lets you fly the aircraft, and I know, right? A flight simulator actually letting you fly? Incredible. With the majority of these aircraft being attainable without spending Robux on them. However, in order to progress far enough to actually use these, you need to fly long routes that are incredibly dull to fly. These routes then earn you coins, which you can then use to purchase the next aircraft. Though this process takes absolutely forever, and it's likely you'll never actually be able to fly them due to their immense cost. The selection of aircraft is actually pretty good if you have nothing else to do, though the game mechanics are pretty broken, and the camera too is seriously glitchy. It's pretty much just a crappy mobile port, and one I definitely don't see myself playing again. It's an E tier. Last, but certainly not least, comes the most awaited game by quite a margin. Pilot Training Flight Simulator, shortened to just PTFS, is without a doubt the most well-known flight simulator on Roblox. This game isn't trying to be realistic, and focuses more on giving players a social sandbox, where players can be as creative as they like. The map is absolutely huge, featuring many different islands, each with different environments. It has 17 different airports around the map, and almost 70 aircraft. Some of these are game passes, yes, and this can be a pain, but I think most of them are reasonably priced, and you don't have to purchase these to get the full experience. PTFS is packed with awesome little features, and it would take me forever to go through them all. But just to give an example of what there is Blue Angels and Red Arrows aircraft have smoke. Every airline has a ton of different liveries. Most supersonic aircraft have afterburners, working pappy lights, Vulcan Howl, flaring on landing, ground vehicles, movable gates, and Easter eggs all around the different islands. Hell, even the A-10 has a working... There is a lot to do in this game, and it is truly well deserving of the S tier. We have now covered every game on the list, but we're still not done. I wanted to cover one more thing. One of the games in Part 1 recently received a large update, large enough to be moved on the tier list. Last week I placed AirX into the E tier due to immense promise but noticeable lack of game. Well, just after I uploaded Part 1, a huge update was rolled out that now means you can actually fly in this flight simulator. And holy hell, this game is complicated. Nothing is explained just yet. With tutorials and guides not being yet implemented, I had major issues trying to work out the controls, and whatever the hell this is. This is still obviously more of a passion project than a game at this point in time, and both the developer and its fanbase have put a lot of love into it already. And although there is definitely way more to do than last week, it's still very much bare bones. I definitely recommend checking this game out though. It's quickly shaping up to be something really cool, and I can't wait to see where it's taken. It's definitely earned a place up into the D tier. And finally we have our finished list. I'm satisfied with all of their places, and I hope I've given a reasonable explanation of why they all deserve to be where they are. I just want to say that just because a game was low tier, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try them. Everyone will have different opinions, and it's worth checking them all out. I do apologise for making you all wait for a part 2. I didn't originally intend for it to be this way, but my explanations quickly turned into miniature reviews, and it's taken literally all week to play the games, take notes, write the script, read the script, record the footage, and put it all together. I've never ever done anything like this before, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed it. I also finally released a trailer for my primary group, the virtual Roblox Red Arrows, after a couple of weeks of work. As well as this, I've also been sorting out a joint display with both them and the virtual Roblox Blue Angels. Video about that coming soon on the Reds channel. Finally, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who helped me get the footage for this video, with a special thank you to SamisageTFE, who went out of his way on several occasions to help me record this. I'm done here now, so a big thank you to you all for watching. Like, subscribe, blah blah blah, Patron out.